Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again. My name is Kanal, and that was my attempt to playing on Paul David's backing track that he made for all those pro guitar players to play. And I decided to take a shot, and that was it. It was really fun. And since all the guitar players in Paul's video talked about their gear and everything, I also wanted to talk to you about what I used in this video as opposed to gear, and also what my approaches are when it comes to taking a solo like that. So starting off with the guitar, I'm playing this stunning Maybach Teleman T54 in Nicotine aged Butterscotch, and I mean, just look at this beauty. It plays better than it looks, and the aging on it, I don't know if you can see, I have some detailed shots on my Instagram page if you want to see them, but I mean, this guitar is just magnificent. It's definitely the best Telecaster that I've ever played. And it just sounds gorgeous. It plays like butter. And there's going to be a full in-depth video about this guitar very soon, so stick around for that. And I mean, it's just a pleasure to play this guitar. I played everything on the neck position. And even though it's a 7¼ inch radius, the action is really low. And as I said, it plays like butter. I mean, it's the perfect guitar. I really, really like it. But as I said, we're going to do an in-depth video about this very soon. And I mean, as soon as I start talking about it, I can't stop. But moving on to the effects and amps and everything, I actually only used the Line 6 HX Stomp XL for everything. So the amp, the delay, the reverb, the distortion, everything is coming from the Line 6 HX Stomp XL. So what I did is I plugged it in, created a preset, and then plugged it into the audio interface, and that's about it. I'm monitoring everything with my studio monitors, the SC205s, and they work perfect for this setup. So the amp that I used for the preset is the Princeton model with the stock speaker, the 10-inch. And for my overdrive, I'm using the Minotaur, which is based on a Klon, set as a boost mostly. And on top of that, I'm using the plate reverb that comes on the HX Stomp XL. And I'm also using a bucket brigade style delay, just for that short Robin Ford style delay. So it just fattened things up. It's not that audible, but I can definitely feel it under my fingers, and it feels good to have it. So it sounds something like this. And as you can tell, the reverb is a long reverb, a lot of mix, a lot of decay. I think that went well with the track that I was playing through. Now, another thing that I like to use is compression when it comes to recording in a track. So I play very softly, and I try to play very dynamically. And that works in situations where you're in a room with a loud amp. That way you can enjoy the dynamics that you're having. But if you're playing with a track that has multiple instruments in it, it's best to have some sort of compression so every note that you play can be heard. And the Studio LA compression from the Line 6 HX Stomp, that allows you to still manage your dynamics, meaning that you can manage the gain that you're putting with your right hand, but then you still have that volume. Even if you're playing like softly and the notes come out clean, they're still audible, they're still loud. But then if you dig in, then you can get more distortion, which that also helps you cut through the loudest part of the mix, for example. So if I play very softly with the same preset, you can hear that the tone is clean, but it's still loud. So if I play softly, it sounds like this. But then if I decide to dig in, it gets more distorted, but it's the same loudness. So that's why I love to use this compressor. When I play by myself, or if I'm in a room with a band and my amp is loud, I turn off the compression, because it's a redundancy at that point, because I want to enjoy all the dynamics that I'm having. But if the mix is full with instruments and you kind of need that volume to make your notes audible, then a compression would work perfectly for that. There are some radical compressions that I don't like, that they just squash everything, but the Studio LA is very organic in the HX Stomp XL, and that's why I decided to use that one. That's probably the worst way to explain compression, but yeah, we'll roll with that. So if you like the tone, under the description down below, you can find a link of the preset that I use for the HX Stomp XL. So you can just freely download it and use it as you wish. Now, I also wanted to give you some tips on how to go about a solo like that, or just my approach on it. So, for example, the first thing that you have to have is a good instrument. And I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money on your instrument, but first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that your guitar is set up properly. So there's thousands of videos online where you can find how to set up your guitar properly. And if you have a Telecaster, there's videos for that. If you have a Strat, there's videos for that. I mean, YouTube is a very resourceful place. So if you haven't set up your instrument, just give it a shot. There's not a lot that you can mess up. But if you're not sure about it, then you can send it to a luthier, and that's like the best thing you can do about your guitar. So for example, you have to have the neck straight so that it feels easy to play. You have to make sure all the frets are leveled, because you don't want some frets to choke out when you're playing a solo. And most importantly, you have to check the intonation on the bridge, because if your intonation is not set up properly, that means that as soon as you go above the 12th fret, everything is going to sound sharp or flat depending on how the bridge is set up. And yeah, you can compensate with vibratos, but it's just best to have your guitar set up properly before you even attempt to play a solo. Stretch your strings if you have new strings, because there's nothing worse than playing a solo and then you land on a note and it's out of tune. So that's just going to ruin the whole thing. So make sure you change the strings, stretch them, give them a quick play, see how they feel. And yeah, so that's like my first thing, is to have a good instrument. And as I said, it's not about spending a lot of money. It's about making the best out of the instrument that you currently have. All right, so let's say you figured out your instrument, you set it up, and you feel comfortable with it. It's not going out of tune, which is the most important thing. Now it's about listening to what you're gonna play. So for this track, I listened to the track a couple of times without playing at all. And then like 5 or 6 times I went through the track and played what I thought might sound good. And in that process, I figured out something else that sounded good. So in my case, I'm self-taught, and I don't visualize things on the fretboard like someone that knows a lot of theory. So my process is completely different than yours, and it's not the right way. It's not the wrong way, because in music there's no right or wrong, and that's only my opinion. So I got a feel of the track, and then I started playing. So I decided to see what I can add to the solo. And yeah, my framework is A minor pentatonic for this, in this case, and I like to follow the melody. So I have this melody in my head that goes well with the backing track that follows the chord progression. So I try to add some of those nuances. So a tool that I like to use, I call them tools. So a tool that I really like to use is double stops. And they're just some fantastic textures that you can add to any solo. So by the end of the solo, I go something like this. So like everything that you heard here is in the key of C, and you can practically add any of these fingerings, any of these intervals, and it's gonna sound good. So you just play around with it. If you like the sound of the double stops, you can explore them. So for example, in the key of C, I don't know the key of C, I mean, even the key of C, I don't know what exactly in my head, I don't know what notes go, but I know that this is going to sound good because those intervals go with the key of C. And you're probably going to end up better just knowing the theory behind it all. So I know some of it. I know that C, D minor, E minor is 1, 2, 3, and etc. A minor is a minor 6. But I don't think about it that much when I'm playing a solo like that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to listen to where the track is going, and then I add some of the notes. That's it. That's basically it. So that's all I do. And again, I like to use certain tools like the double stops. Something else that I enjoy to use is diminished scales. So for example, when I hear that there's a lot of tension going on in the chord progression, that's most likely going to be some augmented thing or some diminished thing. So I don't know exactly how to explain it, and I'm probably better off learning it and explaining it to you as well. But I know when I hear a lot of tension, it's probably going to be something diminished. So in the middle of the solo, I use something like this. So that's the half step, whole step thing, and you can resolve on the minor 6 or the major 1. So having those things in the palm of your hands, like trying to memorize those things, it really helps you develop a solo. So it's not about just playing pentatonics, but if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. I often find myself just going for the blues and that's it. But if you want to make your solo more interesting, then you can add these nuances, and it just makes it better. Your listeners are gonna appreciate it, but they might not know what it is. For example, in this case, the musician doesn't know what it is, but I like it, and I like how it sounds, and I like how it makes me feel, so that's why I use them. Now, since I've been watching a lot of Robben Ford videos and a lot of his performances, I've been keen on making myself a better player when it comes to time. If you nail the time, then that's going to give a bigger impact on your listener and yourself as a musician as well. So timing is definitely something that you should consider when you're doing a solo. So it's not just mindless shredding. The timing, the correct timing, the correct groove is what sets solos apart, in my opinion. So I'm trying to work on that recently, and I was just bugging myself until I got the correct timing of the first lick, for example, because that's the first thing that you're gonna listen to, and if that isn't right, then the whole solo doesn't mean anything. Well, it might, but you get what I'm saying. So the remedy for that is practicing with a metronome or even a backing track, but just make sure to listen for what you're playing. So make sure you're just hitting the right note at the right moment. I'll listen to a Robben Ford performance, his song Freedom. That's like a masterclass for timing. So just imagine him not playing in time for that particular song, and it's just going to ruin the whole thing for you. That being said, my timing is not perfect, and it's probably going to take a long time for it to be perfect, but I'm working on it. Last but not least, a very important aspect of playing guitar is the fact that guitar is a very dynamic instrument, and it responds to your touch. So even though I'm using a compressor, as I said in the beginning, there's still a lot of opportunities for you to express yourself. And for example, working on your touch, that's going to make a huge difference on your solos. Even like the pick that you use. For example, recently I was only playing these picks, which are, I believe, 2mm picks. And this one is actually really thick, but the one thing that I liked about it is that it gave me a warm tone. But recently I got one of these picks, .88 Dunlop Ultex, and that gave me a bigger opportunity for me to express more high end with my touch and with my pick. So even something as simple as a pick is important in these cases. And where you play the guitar, if you play closer to the bridge or if you play closer to the neck, that's gonna make a huge difference when you're trying to develop a solo. I mean, no one wants to hear someone play straight up with the same intensity all the time. So like, imagine listening to this. I mean, it doesn't even feel good to play, but if you add some dynamics, if you adjust your touch to it, you can just, I mean, it sounds so much better. And I also said the position of your right hand where you pick makes a huge difference, and you can add a lot of interesting textures to your playing. So make sure that next time you're playing something through a backing track or something like that, or even with a looper or something, just make sure to like play closer to the bridge, play closer to the neck, and see how all those nuances make you feel. And if you like the sound of the bridge, playing closer to the bridge, like after sometimes your brain is gonna automatically send you there, and your hand's gonna be there and play here because that makes you feel good in certain cases. So just trying to get familiar with all the sounds. Even as I said, even if I don't know the scale, and if I'm just familiar with the sound, my brain is gonna tell my fingers where to go to create that sound. So that comes with a lot of playing, with a lot of practice. But for something like this, it's very easy. So like, take your pick and try playing closer to the bridge. Helps if I have volume. Now closer to the neck. Somewhere in the middle. I mean, something like that. So it doesn't have to be forced. Like in the beginning, yeah, you might have to force it just so you can like try things out. But as I said, after a couple of months of playing, it's all gonna come automatically and it's all gonna come naturally. And when that happens, you know that you've done something to your playing. You've added something to your vocabulary. And I think that's like one of the best feelings that you can get from playing guitar. So another tip would be to record yourself. So if you record yourself and then you see yourself or you hear yourself playing in the bridge, like closer to the bridge, and like, yeah, I practiced that, so now I'm putting it to use automatically. That's gonna help you feel better about playing guitar. All right, so I blabbered enough. That's enough philosophy for me. I wanted to keep this video short, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the solo. Please let me know how you felt about that solo. As I said, the preset is gonna be under the description down below. You can download it for free if you have an HX Stomp. Now, I've been doing a lot of gear related videos lately, and I still have a lot of them in mind to do, but like the festive atmosphere of Christmas and New Year's just wanted me to give something to you. So I hope you really got something out of this, and I'm planning to do a lot more content like this because I think that I have something to share with you guys, and if you like it, then the best way to support it would be to subscribe and like the videos and all that YouTube stuff. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you so much for your support, and I wish you're all staying healthy. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one and stay safe. Bye-bye.